So this is going to be a bit of a long TikTok. It's going to be long. It's going to be long. Because it's been less than 24 hours since I watched episode 4 of Heated Rivalry. And just some things that I need to talk about now that I've had time to kind of sit and digest and make sense of everything that we saw, because it was a glorious episode and there's a lot of things that I need to talk about. Now, I'm not going to be fancy and show little clips of things like that. I don't have time for that. But I only watched it once, but it was enough for me to sit there and ponder and go okay, I saw this, and saw this. And I know it's been talked a lot on TikTok, but yes, I should probably say spoilers for those who haven't watched it. You've had a day to watch it, so I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, so yes, we need to talk about it. I don't have anyone to talk about it with, so these thoughts have been in my head for all day. I was at the gym working out, and it was in my head. So, yes, obviously the tuna melt scene was phenomenal. The whole scene leading up to it was great. You saw, Shane not knowing. I noticed it, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but he went to knock on the wall, even though it wasn't the door, because he didn't know what, I thought that was really funny. And I was like, oh, poor baby boy doesn't know what's going on. He was so nervous. And then that whole, you can tell that Ilya is down bad. You can tell. Especially, after they're done doing, their bonding exercises. And he was like, you can stay. And that was the first time that has ever come up, at least in the show. I haven't read the book. I know. I'm a bad person. I'm sorry. And then they continue to bond for the rest of the day and the night. And then they were snuggling in the morning, which was freaking adorable. And then you can tell Ilya was just he was in ecstasy. He was in heaven. He was loving every second of it. And then, the morning, he gave Shane his clothes. And Shane was wearing them, which is also giving himself a part, symbolism, things like that. And then the tuna melts and the ginger ale thing, which I didn't realize when I first saw it, but then thinking about it, I was like, oh, Shane kept asking for ginger ale the entire episode, and the only place he got it was with Ilya. And someone pointed it out on a different TikTok. I forget who it was, but they were saying how people with anxiety, or people when you have an upset stomach, what do you tend to drink? A lot of people drink something with ginger in it because it's supposed to help settle your stomach. And we all know that Shane, just from, well, I shouldn't say we all know, but I know reading the books, it talks about how he has anxiety. But even in the show, you can kind of tell that he has a bit of anxiety as well. And a bit of not quite sure where he fits in. So I'm sure that adds to his stress and anxiety and makes his stomach upset, which is one reason why he probably drinks a lot of ginger ale. So he gets his ginger ale, and Ilya's like, is it cold enough? Now, I'm sure Ilya didn't have ginger ale at all and just bought it specifically for Shane. I think he planned, in my mind, in my interpretation, he planned this all out, which is So anyways, he makes the tuna melt, gives him the ginger ale, and then he does, gets on the call with his dad. Now, obviously, I watched the scene a few times, and you can hear, obviously I don't know Russian, a lick of Russian, but he said Papa a lot, which, even if you don't know Russian, means dad. So Shane was listening, heard him talking about Papa. Ilya was talking to his dad. And when Ilya sits down, I didn't notice, Ilya was acting like everything was fine. But Shane knew. He was like, is everything okay with your dad? And for someone, at least from what I've been watching, no one has ever asked Ilya about his dad. no one has asked anything about his family. I mean, Shane has in the past, he was just like, he brushed upon his family, but no one asked about his dad. And so, like, that is when you can tell, like, Ilya felt even harder. And even in the clip, you can see him just, like, his eyes just, like, you just look in the eyes, and, like, he gives that smile, like, a genuine smile. And then you have them cuddling, you know, in the beginning of the scene, they're, like, you know, 6 feet apart, and they're quite far. And then once that happens, Ilya brings them closer, they sit and they cuddle. And then I saw another person say that with, and I guess I was looking at this in that way too, but you can tell that Ilya obviously doesn't have the tools or the capacity to be vulnerable in a way that a lot of people can understand. So one way that he and Shane kind of bond is through physical touch. By that I mean sex. Now, that is why Shane almost did what he did, is to kind of comfort Ilya. Now, I'm not sure if people caught that. I did. I caught it. That was my interpretation of it. And then, yes, they say each other's name, which, if you know, when you're in the heat of the moment and you say their name, that's big. That's big. Especially if you've, like, finished and you have all these, like, hormones and dopamines and things like that, and then saying their name in the way that they did, like, you know, and that's why you know that, like, Ilya was being vulnerable in his way. He was trying to be this doting husband, lover, boy thing, super adorable, super cute. And then you have Shane, who doesn't know how to feel or how to process it and doesn't know what to do. And that's one reason why he, at least in that aspect, that is one reason why he panicked and then left. And then you can see in Ilya's eyes, you can see the pain. He was vulnerable with this person, and then he had his heart ripped out. And we've all been there. We've all been vulnerable with someone that we want them to choose us. And we want them to be with us. And you can tell it just ripped his heart out. And then you cut to the scene, you know, then we see Shane and Rose start to have their relationship. And that guts Ilya. You know, we've been there. When someone we want, and we want them to choose us, and then we see them happy with someone else. You know. And I'm sure he beats himself up for, like, pushing Shane away for doing that. And then cut to the club scene. And I know people are speculating that Miles knew that Shane was bisexual. Or not Shane. That Ilya was bisexual. Because a little, like, wave. But I didn't interpret it that way. I just thought that Shane and Ilya in the beginning of the show did a lot of press and did a lot of things together. And I think Miles just knows that they are friends, quote unquote. So I think that's just kind of what it was. It's just kind of like, oh, you know Shane. I'm part of Shane's friend group. Hi. But I know some people interpret it differently, which is totally fine. It's how it is. We interpret things the way we do. But then seeing Ilya, like, panic, turn around, start scoping out the club, spots Shane dancing with Rose, and his world shatters. You can see it. And then, when Shane sees Ilya's friend, I know it's a teammate, I don't know his name, then he starts scoping around too. And then he sees Ilya dancing with the girl, and his world shatters because he realizes what is going on. He realizes what is, like, he's starting to realize it. And again, we've all been there. And I don't know if it's, like, cinematography or things like that, or if he was actually just standing in the middle of the dance club and they just both stopped and just stared. Or if that was just kind of like, it was a split second and it just felt like forever because they did that. But that was, you know. And then we cut to the ending, which Shane and Rose were going upstairs and Ilya was in the shower. And the whole point that Ilya wanted to go out and was to get laid because he wanted to forget his feelings for Shane. But then in the end, he doesn't get laid.